There are 4,315,275,402 Alabama football podcasts on the internet. And now you get to ignore every single one. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. Real talk from real fans. We gump to a standard around here. Recapping the Alabama Crimson Tide and college football from around the SEC and across the nation. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. And here are your hosts, Bill Sylvie, Jessica Brand, John Henry, and Bo Gonora.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the new time slot. You know, normally this would be where I would be bleary-eyed and barely awake, but what can I say, folks? We stand on the cusp of a new year, and it was time for a change. And what better time to make that change than on early signing day? And what an early signing day it has been for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think it's just about one of the better ones that we've had in a long time. And we'll talk about that on tonight's show. Now, normally this would be the part in the show where we would give a little bit of overview of, you know, our thoughts on how the Tide did during a given game on Saturday. But, of course, we know how the last game the Crimson Tide played went. But I think there's something that bears repeating. And that is that we've got two games left in this season. I didn't think that Alabama would be here. I honestly, I mean, it's right in the text scroll. Raise your hand if you knew 100% that the Alabama Crimson Tide would be poised to take a national title, and then slap yourself with that for lying. Because, my God, what a wild ride it has been. They have proven themselves to be of a nearly unbreakable metal. They have been through the fires of two of the most spectacular games I can think of in recent memory. The Iron Bowl will certainly sit up there with the 2018 National Championship game, with the 2015 National Championship game, as one of the great moments in Alabama football history. And we got to be here for it all, and isn't that awesome? And speaking of people who are here, as you know, unless you've been living under a rock, the Tide's next opponent is, much to everyone's surprise and joy, the Cincinnati Bearcats, a gunslinging team out of the G5, and the team that is closest to the heart of tonight's guest, Rusty Schafer, who, full disclosure, is a good friend of mine. Now, when I met Russ and we first started to talk about college football, and he told me he was a fan of the Bearcats, and of course I didn't hesitate to tell him I was a Crimson Tide fan, knowing that the two were in completely different orbits sports-wise, we would always laugh and say, wow, how crazy would it be if those teams got to play each other. And, well, here we are. So, to that end, I'm going to shut up and let my co-host do a little bit of talking now.
Hey, thanks, Bill, for introing me there. So, just quick background on me before we talk about Alabama versus Cincinnati. I was
let me stop
Yep.
you right there, Russ. You're
Yep.
you're really staticky, really robot-y. Tough to hear.
One sec.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Bo. How about you?
John, how you?
I'm doing great, guys.
Hey,
I'm,
guess what? There's no coffee on today's show because it's not at 6 freaking a.m.
It's not 6 freaking a.m., but that doesn't mean there's not coffee.
Okay, yeah, it's true.
Am I better now?
Oh yeah,
Much better.
yeah.
Okay. I was just going to
decide to become an Alabama fan.
Yeah, that exactly what happened. I sold my soul there. But yeah, just quick intro. I was born and raised in Cincinnati. I live in Orlando now. I have followed the Bearcats like in earnest probably since sometime in the mid '90s. Part of it, to be honest, is Ohio State fans were so obnoxious that I was kind of like counterculture and drifted toward the Bearcats, even though they were absolute nobodies.
Here.
Yeah, and became good friends with Bill, and like he said, we've talked. I watch Alabama games. He watches Cincy games. We talk about it. We cheer for each other's teams because it was just never a reality where they'd ever play. And then here we are. So this is really strange.
Surreal, right?
Yeah.
So you were born and raised in Cincinnati. Please explain the freaking chili thing, because that is a crime against humanity.
Yeah. So here's the biggest issue with it is it should just not be called chili, and I think it'd be very accepted.
Thank you.
The background is, this type of chili is actually very close to the meat that you get in like a rolled, like a stuffed grape leaf, like Greek food, Mediterranean food. It's very similar to that. Some changes. And, so Greek immigrants brought that recipe and started to, I guess they looked around and said, hey, this looks like what they call chili. And then we went, that's how it got called chili. But it really isn't chili, but it's really good for what it is.
Yeah, so I traveled around a few times. I've been to a Skyline Chili. That's the only one of the chains that I've been to.
Yep.
I didn't hate it. It wasn't my favorite thing, but I agree with you. Just call it something else.
It's a sauce. It's a meat sauce.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am fine with White Castle, however.
That's probably one of the biggest things I miss about living in Orlando.
Are there no crystals there? That's close.
Yeah, we got Crystal.
There are like a couple left.
No, crystal hamburgers, Bill, not crystal meth.
Well, it's Orlando.
I'll leave that to you to decide.
I mean, it is Florida.
That's very true. We are Florida men. So Rusty, you as a Bearcats fan, you've got to be just like walking 2 inches off the ground, man. This is.
Yeah, this is something that never seemed possible, and I definitely saw the trajectory of this team once Luke Fickell came in and started to build a program, and it has looked more promising year after year. And it's like, can this really be real? And to me, the wake up call was like, I thought it was amazing last year. We went to the bowl game and played Georgia. Now, admittedly, Georgia had several starters who sat out. But however, you're playing SEC talent, right? And you're in the AAC, right? So by all rights, like even a mid-level SEC team should blow us off the field, right? And the fact that they didn't, I'm like, that's interesting. And then this year, going into, it's easy to forget, but Indiana was a preseason top 15 ranked team, and to go in there early this year and win on their field, turn around, go to Notre Dame, win on their field. I'm like, wow, like this is like real, so it's very surreal as well. Like to me, like a lot of the joy will just be flipping on the TV and seeing them play Alabama in a college football playoff game. Like that's a win for me as a fan. And I'm sure a lot of my fellow fans, Bearcat fans, agree with that. Like, absolutely.
I will say about that game that you intercepted Indiana's quarterback 3 times. You really held Penix.
He's been waiting 2 weeks for that.
I mean,
He's been waiting.
He's in the transfer portal. What am I going to do? I have to get one more shot.
Sitting like a sniper on top of a building, waiting and waiting for that.
Yep. That's great.
It's just laying there. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to do something.
All right, guys. We had a sportscast to do, so let's firm up here, okay?
Good. Okay. Everybody gets one in. Let's go.
No, do we?
So I can tell you this, Russ. I actually have seen Cincinnati play in person before.
Okay.
It was actually in 1985. The University of Alabama was recruiting me, not to play football, to do math.
Yeah.
And they invited me, gave me free tickets to come down to homecoming. And our homecoming opponent happened to be Cincinnati.
Wow.
And I did play a little ball, so I know a little bit about football, and their defense intrigued me because I was sitting in the end zone, and I had the view of half the game. I had the view of them from their side, and they had 2 defensive tackles that were angled right at the center. There was one on either side of them, right on him, like they were just going to gang up on him. And what they would do every play, one of them was attacking the center, and the other one was looping around. And the next play, they'd do it the other way. And the whole game, almost, probably 70% of the plays, they were doing this little defensive tackle stunt, trying to mess with the center. And they did it the whole game. I was thinking, that is the funkiest defense I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
But that is my memory of.
Wow.
And that was my first that was my first Alabama game ever.
Wow. Interesting.
My other recollection of that is Cornelius Bennett was doing warm-ups in the end zone that I was sitting there from. And I was back in like row 15 or something. That's pretty close. And I was an offensive tackle, and I thought I could play football. And I watched him, and then I thought, I really can't play. I could never block that guy.
Oh, that's okay, John. You're an offensive co-host too, so.
Oh, thank you. Hey.
Sorry, not even the Crickets wanted anything to do with that. I got to leave it to the professionals.
So
what do we think about this matchup? You have a running back that I quite like, Mr. Jerome Ford.
Yes.
Yeah, he's done very well this year. Very happy to have Mr. Ford.
You can give him back if you want. I mean, it's fine if you got any university contacts, or if you want to just give Jerome back to us, that's fine.
Yep.
He's got over 1,200 yards on the year. He's played well, and he was injured. Didn't he miss at least one game?
I know he missed a game. I don't know if there's more than one. But yeah. Yep. You asked like kind of what I thought about the overall matchup, and happy like whatever time is appropriate in the show that we want to get into it deeper. But at a high level, I think, to be as objective as possible. I mean, I think, Alabama's heavily favored for a reason. And I think that Alabama ought to win this game. That said, I think at least for me, and I'd be curious what your all's take is on this, but when I think of like a G5 kind of Cinderella type team, I'm picturing, undersized, probably has some athletes at skill positions, running unconventional schemes, etc. And I think when you look at Cincinnati this year, like they have legitimate bodies on their lines, at their skill positions. They actually have, if you look at, kind of projections for the next year's NFL draft, I mean, they project it, I could argue that the 4 most important positions on your team are quarterback, tackle, edge, like defensive edge, and cornerback. And like, the Bearcats are projected to have starters at 3 of those positions next year in the NFL, so they're certainly not like what I would consider like a G5 pushover type team. That's interesting to me in terms of the matchup. Something else that I've noticed is like, I think a lot of G5 type teams, you will notice a huge difference in like scheme and play calling, depending on whether they're playing Little Sisters of the Poor or they're playing Alabama. But when I go back, I record Bearcats games, rewatch them. I don't see a huge change in like philosophy, scheming, etc. Whether, if they're playing, I don't know, they're playing Tulane or they're playing Notre Dame. Like they're running the same offense, same defense. It's interesting. Like they look like they belong when they play some of these teams. And like I said, fully expect Alabama to win, but I think that this is like a legitimate opponent, the Bearcats. That's my high level.
All right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I keep going back and forth between, yes, Alabama should win this game easily just based on talent level to, if we get the team that shows up for the first 58 minutes of the Iron Bowl, they're going to lose, So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a legit chance that the Bearcats could pull this out. On paper, you wouldn't think that, but it's been a strange year.
Yeah, so it has been a strange year, and I think as a Cincinnati fan, outside looking in on Tideland here, I think as a Cincinnati fan looking at like the game versus A&M, looking at the Auburn game, it's kind of like Jim Carrey when he says, "Tell me," so I got a chance, right?
Yeah.
That gives me hope, right? Like if it's just been like juggernaut crushing everybody regardless all year, I wouldn't have any hope. But I actually have some hope, like, hey, they could hang in this thing. Alabama, very favored, but they have a puncher's chance.
A lot of times strange things can happen, and it's basically a one-game playoff here, and anything can happen in one game. Yep. Somebody can have a bad day. The wrong guy can get hurt. You come up on some play that you can run that we have trouble stopping. Any of that can happen.
Yep.
And I will say that I think that the defense that Cincinnati runs is the kind of defense that Alabama has had trouble with this year, with slants, and you have the smaller, quicker up front four, and you can run slants and stunts that seem to give our guys trouble. So
yeah,
I can't say I'm not concerned a little bit.
Yeah. And whenever, I don't know, Bill, how in terms of like the agenda for the show, but I have a list of things like, kind of things to educate, like, inform you guys, inform your listeners of like, hey, here's what to expect to see from Cincinnati on offense, defense, etc. So we can cover that now. We can cover it later, however you want to handle it.
Wait. Hold up a second. You did prep?
I did. So by the way, I listened to you, even though I'm not an Alabama fan, I listened to your show because I'm friends with Bill and I've become attached to listening to it. So I guess coming on here was kind of intimidating. Like you guys are on here talking football every week. Like I'm not, so I felt like I should at least come like prepared and not just be go Bearcats, So.
That's my job. Well, go Bama, but you get it.
Yeah.
That spot was taken, so you have to do actual prep. I got you.
Yeah. So let me get my number 2 pencil and my Big Chief pad, and I'm going to take some notes.
Okay.
But all kidding aside, Russ,
Yeah.
Absolutely, we want to hear that. I mean, usually, we have a first half and second half of the show. But one thing I am going to interject before you get started, because I think this is a fine place to do it and way to do it. Now, Russ, if since you're our guest, if you know the answer to the trivia question, you may absolutely jump in and say and answer this week's trivia question.
All right.
As John Henry pointed out, the last time that the Cincinnati Bearcats faced the Alabama Crimson Tide was on 21 September 1985. That was a cool couple of days ago. That was at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. And Alabama won that game handily. What was the score? 1985 homecoming game played against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Number 16 Alabama going in to a homecoming game against the Bearcats. What was the score of that game? So
Okay.
if our listeners, if there's somebody out there in the audience, wants
I was
to,
there and I don't remember.
You were. Hey, if you're on
Getting old
campus,
sucks, huh, John?
Yeah. So
Well, if
I'll
I
tell you,
was-
Bill. I in doing a little prep before the show, I had looked up their history, so I'm not going to answer because I just saw this yesterday.
Alrighty, that's absolutely fine. So, yeah, it's an underhanded lob. It should be very easy for anyone to pick up on. The final score: Alabama versus Cincinnati, September 21st, 1985. That's this week's trivia question. So, Rusty, you've got some notes. You have the con, Mr. Schafer.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and like I said, my main thing was not to come on like this is an Alabama podcast first and foremost. So I didn't want to come on like cheerleading for the Bearcats. My point of view is going to be to come on and just educate about, hey, here's what your opponent looks like, and then maybe we can get some banter about some of these things, et cetera. So one thing, like biggest thing that stands out to me about the Bearcats this year is they are a quick strike offense. And if you look at their stats, there's a huge discrepancy here where they are 8th in points, right? But they're 123rd in time of possession. And that is literally because they get on the field, quick strike, and turn it over to their defense, right? So they are not a grinded out team that matriculates, deliberately down the field. They are quick strike, get off the field type of offense. And what's interesting with that is you'll see, go back and look at a game like Navy. I believe they beat Navy like 27-20 or 23-20, something like that. When they played Navy, that game was just a perfect example of Navy, they do their whole triple option. They're gaining 3 yards of play. They hope that every fourth play they can pop 4 yards and get the first down, that type of thing. And they keep your defense on the field for a long time, just by the style of offense. Since he's used to the quick strike on offense. And throughout that game, you could see essentially Cincinnati had to dial back and play a different brand of offense just to stay on the field long enough to have their defense not be winded, right? So teams like that, I think, is where I've seen Cincinnati struggle the most, is that sort of very frustrating, let's play prevent defense, let's play a very deliberate kind of small chunk offense, dink and dunk type offense. I think that's given Cincinnati fits, to be honest. But I think when you look at the offense overall and the way they play, one thing that jumps out at me is they run a lot of plays that are kind of the same play, but they run it out of multiple formations, where I think they're a little bit unpredictable in the sense that, hey, on tape, they ran this particular play out of this formation. I line up in a completely different formation. I ran the same play, that kind of thing. So I think they're very multiple with that. Running game wise, they're absolutely at their best when they're doing the wide zone runs. They combine that with a jet motion concept, and you'll see out of jet motion, again, being multiple, one play, the receiver comes across and he gets the ball and runs it. But the next time they run something very similar, he's the lead blocker for the running back. And so they kind of mix that up. Passing wise, lots of crossers. I think is the term the air raid offense. I think it's that sort of concept with a lot of crossing routes and, at least one going deep and et cetera. And if you look at their stats, and number of receptions, for example, the receptions are spread all over the roster. There is a number one receiver right? But if you look, I mean, there are, I think 5 or 6 guys in the roster with 20 something plus receptions, right? So they don't lock in on a receiver. It's, very much spread it around with kind of crossing routes and so forth. The other thing I think to look for with the Bearcats on offense is they do, in some of these circumstances, have designed runs. Like there'll be 3 wide receivers, et cetera, and you'll see them send forward. They'll send him out, like send him in motion out wide. And, a lot of times in that case, it's a designed run for Ritter, who's a mobile quarterback. Like he's got a heck of an arm, but he's a mobile quarterback. So I'll stop there. That's kind of like the offensive impressions, like I wanted to convey, like what to look for.
All right, we'll open it up to the floor, gentlemen.
So go ahead, John. No,
I'm just going to ask. You've got 2 minutes left. You're down 4. You've got to score a touchdown to win. You've got about 70 yards to go. Who are you?
So we're
hoping your quarterback is getting.
Yeah, in that case, we're throwing to Alec Pierce, senior. He gets 7? I got my stats here. He gets 17.3 yards per reception. He's got 8 TDs this year. He's, like I said, he might be technically the number 1, but when you look at their, like I said, you look at their receiving stats, it's receiver by committee in a way. But he would be the go-to guy. It would be Ritter to Pierce.
Yeah, I went back and watched some highlights of Cincinnati, over the course of this whole season. And then I actually went back and watched a condensed version of their game against Georgia last year.
Okay.
Because I just haven't watched a lot of Cincinnati football this year.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that Ritter, there's a lot of called runs for him.
Yep.
But he's like second on the team in rushing attempts by a large factor.
Yes.
But he's also very good at taking advantage of blown coverages. I lost count of the number of touchdowns he threw to a receiver that was, I'm not talking about this receiver's open by 5 yards. There's nobody around for 15, 20 yards.
Right.
And he just, and he's like, oh, boop, there it is. Touchdown.
Yep.
Again, I literally lost count of how many times he did that. So it's going to be important that Alabama keep the receivers covered and not give up those busted coverage plays because Ritter's really good at seeing the field and taking advantage of those.
Well, and I think that also speaks to, I mentioned the tendency with the crossing routes and, and kind of pre-snap motion. And I think their play design is meant to have a free runner. You know what I mean? Like they're playing to that, like hoping to get that guy that has no one within 15 yards. So like you absolutely have to like really be disciplined, I think, and play assignment-based football on those crossing routes, and don't let it leave you in that situation. Like that could be and Ritter's dangerous when that happens. Like he absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. And he's slippery. And he's fast.
Yep.
I mean, he's fast. I saw him house one for like 80 yards on that. Yeah. And it was a designed quarterback run, and he just housed it for 80 yards. And it outran all of the cornerbacks, all the safeties. He just took it in, and I'm like, okay, that dude's fast. So I can see where he's getting where the NFL hype's coming from. Now he's a senior, right? He's gone after this year.
Yeah, okay. This is it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then of course your running back is no slouch. He's good because he would not have been recruited by Alabama if he didn't have talent. Right. And that was, I remember when he transferred out, and we all felt like that was just it was just a crowded room, wishing the best kind of thing, and it sounds like he's made the most of it.
Oh yeah, I think he's been amazing for them, and it really makes, I mean, it gives such balance to the offense with him, just because he's a threat, from a running perspective. You can't, and he's a great pass catcher. So they've just been, and like I'll say it again, they've been very multiple with their formations and play calling. Where
they're pretty balanced on offense too.
Totally,
of course there's more passing yards than rushing yards, but it's not 4-1. It's like 3-2, right?
Right.
It's a pretty balanced offense. I don't know the number of play calls, run versus pass, but the yardage wise, it's pretty balanced. So.
It is, and I noticed too, like the running, like looking at each game, like in depth, when they've played their best competition, like it tends to be mostly pass and very little run. Like I think a lot of the running stats that you see are, from, being ahead of Tulsa at halftime and just running the second half, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something you said earlier, kind of gnaws at me a little bit. He's like, you basically run 4 plays. It's just window dressing. And guys, where have we ran into that before?
Quiet.
I mean, okay, all right, I'll shut up.
No. It's important. It's important. Oh,
something Cal College.
Yeah,
I see waving at us out of the green room is Jessica. So I'm going to have her to the stream because I can't wait to hear her input on this. Jessica, can you hear us? Are you? I see 2 Jessicas. Let's see. Now can you hear us, Jessica?
No, I can. Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right.
Tech issues. Yep.
All right. So please continue, Bo. You were saying.
We were saying the University of West Georgia Polytech kind of ran the same deal for a long time. So we've seen, we as Alabama fans have seen that offense. Sometimes it's just jumped up and bit us. I think over the years we're more, the defense is built better to handle that now than it was 10 years ago, which was when they had problems with that. So I do feel like that Cincinnati will give Alabama some trouble. I think that eventually they're gonna, Alabama's gonna come out ahead, but I don't think it's gonna be a 4-touchdown blowout like a lot of my friends have been saying. I asked a coworker, and I'm like, "So what do you think about the Cincinnati game?" He said, "Oh, they'll probably win by 4 or 5 touchdowns." I'm sitting there going, "I don't think so, man."
Yeah, if you want to bet on that, that's great. I don't think so either. I think it might wind up. I think it might wind up a little bit more than Vegas is saying, and not because it's that far apart, but because what I think. What Cincinnati's defensive scheme is, right? So they run a 3-3-5, same as Arkansas, same as Ole Miss. They've seen this before. It involves a lot of deception, and where there's not necessarily, not to say there's not talent, because Sauce is a great cornerback, right? But my thought is that it can kind of mask that because, it's a copycat league, right? I mean, I know it's a cliche, but it's true. The reason you do that is because it covers up and it disguises really what is going to play what role, who's going to be where. And it's not necessarily obvious. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama trail early in this game, not to say that they're going to lose it, but I think it'll be close very, very early on because it's not guys they're all that familiar with in terms of facing Ritter, who I think is honestly probably the best non-Bryce quarterback remaining in the tournament by a wide margin. He's probably better than any quarterback not named Matt Corral that they faced all year. Jerome Ford, as mentioned, he's a solid pass blocker. He's a good 3-way back. Granted, there's familiarity, but he's certainly different than the guy who didn't have much vision, didn't have much sense of direction to open 2019 against Duke when you had suspensions there. I think it is a lot better team than people are giving them credit for. They have a lot of top-end talent. I'm a little bit concerned about the depth, and that's where I think like the fourth quarter you see like a bonus score or something like that. But I have tremendous respect for Feichel. I have a tremendous respect for a lot of their players. I just don't think it's going to be necessarily easy going on. And people are going to say, oh, the real Bam is back at the end. But people are not going to pay attention to the fact that sometimes when it gets down to it in these types of games, it's one play. It's again, that's a cliche, but I think the more telling statement is that's going to be more in terms of depth. I don't think guys get tired necessarily, but it's in terms of really what those guys can do, right? Because eventually you're going to start to run out of disguises with what you can do with that depth. With a team like Alabama, when they run a funnel concept in cover 1, or when they run a Liz Rip in cover 3, they can disguise who that free safety is over the top. They can disguise who the safety who calls that out. I mean, is it going to be Halams or Wright? I mean, probably not Wright anymore, but they can disguise that. They used to be able to do it with the corners, but we all know Alabama's kind of dinged up in the corners department. But eventually, when you start to run out of players that can tell you different things, and there's a smaller pool of them, I think that keeps it close early, but it really limits you in the long term in the context of the game.
Okay, so a few things you said there, Jess, I want to make a comment on. Last couple of games we were behind 10-0, turned out okay. So I'm okay. I'm okay with being behind early. And if you're 6'7", 340 and we're running tempo, yes, we can tire you out. So
also thank you for not saying Zach Calzada was the best quarterback we faced all year.
Definitely not. No. I mean, I still find it's crazy though, right? The last 3 quarterbacks who have beaten Bo Nix are without a college team: Joe Burrow, Calzada, and Burrow, Calzada, and Nix. 2 in the transfer portal, 1 in the NFL. Like, that's crazy to me.
It's a weird year.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a great game. I think it's not necessarily got the similar mirror match intrigue that necessarily Georgia and Michigan has, for instance. But I do think that what you see is really facing more top-end elite talent in that regard. Because both teams have easily, I think easily top 10, if not top 5 quarterbacks in the country right now. And that's no underestimate. You have easily, I think, one of the best 2 corners that Alabama's faced this year with Sauce. Probably the best tandem. I would say maybe McCreary's a little bit above Sauce, but not Sauce Gardner. Not by much. But again, these are both first-round picks this year. You talk about a running back. I don't think they've really faced anyone better. Maybe, I think personally, Kiffin schemes Jerry Ely and Libby schemed him a little bit better than they do Ford. That's not a slut on Ford. That's not a slut on Cincinnati. It's just how much I really like how open space and motion-based on the Ole Miss Rebels offense is. But, I mean, this is a lot of players that they face that I don't think they face anything like them. I'm not as admittedly high on Cincinnati's front trenches, be that offensive line or defensive line, and that's not a slight on them. It's just, I think that as much as the Alabama's had issues with the offensive line, I think this is a matchup they should win, especially if McLaughlin shows that he's not a one-off that we saw against Georgia. I don't think Cincinnati's faced a line like this. Notre Dame probably is the closest, and that was a pretty great chess match towards the end, especially, and Cincinnati held their own. And I don't mean necessarily, it translates to it, but I don't mean necessarily on the scoreboard. I mean in terms of really just winning the line of scrimmage battle, winning the trench warfare, and being able to get those small necessary gains. It's going to be close, but close throughout most of it, but I think Alabama adds in like an exclamation point at the end. You know when you decorate a cake or you see videos of decorating a cake on Food Network, they do the icing and everything like that, and then they put that like little one last squeeze on the top of it to make it perfect. I think that's what we're going to see today. It's going to be like a cake decorating, but in football.
Yeah.
So you don't see what I'm hearing from the panel tonight is not a blowing out, not a plowing under, but I mean, and it's like Rusty and I have mentioned. I mean, as much as he can, Nick's going to run the first 3 pages of the playbook. Period. He's not going to want to go in depth because he doesn't want to show Hugo or Michigan anything that he doesn't have to on New Year's Eve. And he's smart. He's not going to, unless it just becomes a hair-pulling exercise that we all hope it doesn't. We, at the very least, being the panel, hope it doesn't. That ages us, and we don't have too many more years left before it's time for carousel, folks. But Here's my 2 cents, and I will openly admit, and I'm not fishing here. This just is what it is. I probably have the lowest football IQ when you come right down to it of the show. But Rusty brings up a point about the quick strike ability of Cincinnati, and I think that's a valid point. Bama can control the clock. They can control the game. Quick strike won't help you when Alabama can at will develop a 6-minute drive. And you think, well, 6 minutes, that's half of a quarter. I don't think Cincinnati has faced anyone like Anderson. I feel like, just based on matters of speed and matters of size in the front, and this is something Jessica brought up, this is very salient, on the front, in the trenches, I think Anderson's going to be setting up a branch of the Alabama athletics department in the Cincinnati backfield. He's going to be back there so often. Now, does that translate to a sack every time and you guys are going to wind up with negative 600 yards on the ground? No, certainly not. But Anderson's going to be bringing a lot of pressure. And he's gonna, he's gonna make those edges and those corner passes become all the more critical.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do want to say with regard to the lines, look at the roster online, and again, it goes back to one of my first comments, is you think of a G5 team, you think of these kind of undersized guys that are maybe athletic, etc. But look at Cincinnati's line. These are all 300 pounders. They look just like the linemen on an SEC team. You know what I mean? They are not what you'd expect, right? And same defensively. These are, and I'm not saying talent wise, there's a reason they were recruited to Cincinnati and not Alabama, for example.
Sure.
But physically, they don't look out of place, right? I think that Anderson actually was one of my keys of the game that I wrote down.
Yeah.
I think scheming against Anderson, because the only way you're going to handle him is through scheme. I don't believe anyone has a singular player that you can say neutralize them, right? It's going to be scheme.
Yeah. There is no, we're going to chase Will Anderson down, or we're just going to throw a big guy up against him and that'll stop him.
Yeah. So you've got a scheme to minimize his impact as much as possible. To me, the one matchup that I can't wait to see how it goes, and I can give some background on this, is Jess had mentioned Sauce Gardner, right? So what's funny about Sauce Gardner? He is a consensus probably top 15 NFL pick next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, when they gave out the season awards, Kobe Bryant, his running mate at cornerback on Cincinnati, won the Jim Thorpe Award for best defensive back in the country. So he won the award, but is the second best defensive back on the team. And the reason is when you look at Sauce Gardner and you go back and watch the tape, just no one throws at him. He has no stats this year. And it's not through lack of talent. It's the fact that just no one even goes this way, right? So Kobe Bryant has a ton of stats because he's the guy they throw at. So that's interesting. I think there's a lot of skill at those defensive back positions for Cincinnati. But what's interesting with Williams is I want to see, as just a football fan, period, forget the teams, I want to see Gardner versus Williams. I want to see what happens when these two kind of immovable forces hit each other, because both of them seem pretty invincible, right? So who's going to win? I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I would little bit of homerism. You knew that was the risk when you came on the show.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, I think Jamo's got Sauce beat, because I don't think Sauce has faced somebody quite as fast as Jimbo. Yes, I know you guys played Notre Dame, and you played them exceptionally well. Notre Dame's not that good this year.
Yeah, well, there's very few receivers like Williams, very few cornerbacks like Gardner. So something's got to give, right? Something's got to give. I will say I watched a lot of film on Williams, leading up to this, so I could have an educated opinion. I got to tell you, this dude just seems like he runs through defenses. They just pass over the entire defense, right? He is a speed freak.
All right, so. Jessica had to dip out, but she's watching / listening on comments. So I want you to comment in on this, Jessica, too, because we're going to go around the table. We're going to go around the studio here. And first of all, does anyone have any further thoughts, numbers-wise or matchup-wise?
So I just want to point out that the highest-rated quarterback on Cincinnati's team is actually a wide receiver. Because Jordan Jones evidently at some point in the season threw one pass, completed it for a 5-yard touchdown, and he has a rating of 472.0.
Nice. Nice.
Oh my goodness. So what do you got, John? What are your thoughts? Any more nuts and bolts?
Nuts and bolts. Like I said before, this is going to be a kind of defense that can give Alabama problems because they're going to bring people from unexpected places. They're going to do a lot of slants and stunts, and that has given this offensive line problems this year because they're young, and stopping something like that takes a lot of time together and a lot of experience.
Yeah,
it's tough, and they're starting to gel, and I think we're going to go with our traditional. I think we'll see Owens back at right tackle. He's got the most experience out there. I think we'll be able to handle it. I think we're probably you're gonna see a lot of 2 tight ends, especially early on, and we're going to do a lot of running with a running back with some fresh legs. So I think we're going to start out running in some heavy run formations to try to get them to sub out and go for a heavy front 4 and then try to start throwing the ball on them.
I love the strategy.
That's my prediction.
I love that strategy. Like that is exactly, like I was saying before, it's exactly when the Bearcats have struggled. I think that's what you do. To a man, Alabama is a more physical, talented team. Now you look at the skill positions and specific starters, et cetera. Yeah, Cincinnati, like I said, has 3 guys that are going to absolutely start in the NFL next year, right? There's talent there, but 11 versus 11, number 11, the 11th worst player on Alabama is going to be better than the 11th worst player in Cincinnati, right? And I think you just take it to them, you grind it, and you kind of I think in football, you're always trying to take a team and put them in positions they're not comfortable with. And Cincinnati's super comfortable with, the quick strike offense and, a turnover sack-based type of defense, a takeaway defense. And so take all of that away from them and just run it at them. You may not lead on the scoreboard for the first quarter, first 2 quarters, maybe first 3 quarters. But by the end, I think you just physically dominate is the surefire way to win this game, right?
Yeah, our only problem is we're down to 2 scholarship running backs. I think we started the year with 5, and we've lost 3 of them for the season.
Yeah,
and
one of them is just coming back. So, we were 1.5. Yeah. So it's running back room is a bit banged up, but I think B. Rob will be back fully healthy, or at least better than he was against Georgia. And
well, I mean, if he's better than he was against Georgia, then my God, look out.
Well, he was he was awesome against Georgia, but you could tell he wasn't 100%.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You could just tell.
But I think they are going to get a heavy dose of him.
Yeah,
especially in the first half, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I'm interested to see who steps up in place of Mechie, because Mechie's out, right? Is it going to be Brooks? Is it going to be Holden? Is it going to be Slade DeBlade? Who's going to step up and be that number 2, possession? Because that's what Mechie was. Mechie had more catches than Williams, Williams had more yards than Mechie. Mechie was he was that go-to possession guy, right? That's going to hurt.
I think the answer to your question is who's going to step up is yes.
Yes,
I mean, at the end of the day, look, when it comes to short field stuff, we really do have an embarrassment of riches, and I think in that, I hate to say what I'm about to say because this is something look, karma, fate, football gods, if you're listening, I am not standing on the mountain in the thunderstorm yelling, "No comeuppance for us." That's not what I'm doing, okay? No lightning bolts this coming New Year's Eve, please. But honestly, I think we've got the depth that it sucks that Mechie won't be out there, but it just means adjusting to a new scheme. It means spreading the role of one guy out over 5 guys that we can swap in and out. And that may play havoc with Cincy's short defense.
Well, I also like that we have 2 good tight ends that are well. We have a tight end who's really an offensive tackle. That presents most everyone with matchup issues. Then we have 2 good tight ends who are pretty good blockers, but also great or very good in the passing game, and those guys are generally create a pretty good mismatch for us, and I think we will start seeing us use those tight ends a little bit more in this game.
TJP wants us to go empty. I don't like the idea of going empty against a Cincinnati that's playing balls out, nothing to lose. Sorry. But we'll see. We'll see what Nick and Bob and Bluto bring.
Yeah. I mean, one thing, to be clear, Cincinnati, they are here in this game because of their defense. I mean, Ritter's good. They got some, obviously got some talent on offense. They're here because of their defense. To me, the most interesting thing is I went back and sort of went through the games and, contextualized everything was that, it's not like pure talent beating people and getting to the ball. I think they've just got some really creative, interesting schemes with blitzing. And if you look at their stats, their sacks are distributed throughout the roster. Obviously someone leads in sacks, right? But it's like everyone's got 2 or 3 sacks when you look at the look at their stats. So it's absolutely scheme, right? And I think if you can scheme in a way to take that away from them, which I'm not a football coach, I don't know how to do that. If they can scheme in a way to take those stunts and creative blitzes away from them, that's a lot of their power, right? So
truly. All right then, panel, and this is the one, Jess, if you're out there in the ether, I want you to post up your thoughts on this. Final score. And since you are our guest and we are your host, Rusty, I will defer to you on that. Final score. Last gun at 11 o'clock on New Year's Eve. The final score is?
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to say Cincinnati covers. I think our over-under is around 60, right? 58? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm going to say Bama 34, Cincinnati 28, something like that.
All right.
I haven't put a lot of thought into my final score. I just made that up right now. Right? I do believe they'll cover. That's the main thing I want to get across. I have no idea if the.
So I think,
right.
I think Bama does. I think Bama wins 38-20, but that last 7 is like a pick 6 in the last 3 minutes or something like that. So it's really a 31-20 game with a bonus score, like John was saying.
I didn't say it. That was Bill.
Okay. Bill,
that was
yeah.
Jess.
Okay. Somebody did.
That was Bill. I will take Alabama 45-28.
Oh wow.
Bold. So you're looking at a big gun game from Bama.
Well, I'm looking at. I think they're going to score points, but I think Alabama's going to. We finally started to click a little bit, and I think they're going to have a hard time stopping this offense in the end. It'll be second quarter, third quarter before we throttle back, I think.
All right, Jess is saying 41-24. I am going to go with I'm thinking 35-21. I think Cincy puts up 14 on us. They sting us soon. We start to pull away in the second quarter. Cincy comes back in the third and schemes another TD. And then we blow the back half of the third quarter out. We're comfortable enough in the fourth quarter to maybe take one more TD, the cake decoration TD, late in the fourth. Be it an NOT or a just a all right, let's push it down there and have Milrow chuck one in, or Tyson chuck one in. I don't think we're going to see a lot of razzle dazzle. I don't think we're going to see a big gun shootout because I don't think it's going to be necessary. And again, I don't think Nick's going to want to expose a lot of the playbook. And a late score is going to make it look like we came in and just demolished Cincy, which we won't do. This is going to be it's not going to be a nail biter like the Iron Bowl. It's going to be a delightfully enjoyable, frustrating football game to watch, and I'm looking forward to it. But you know what? There are other bowl games happening. Other lesser teams going to bowls of note at that same time, are there not?
Of note?
Well, to somebody, I'm sure.
Well,
somebody's got to play in the Citrus Bowl, right?
And it's not UT this year.
And it's not UT this year.
I tried to find a U and a T in both of those team names this year. And I just couldn't find it. But I can tell you who's playing. We can talk about it. There is one other game of note on New Year's Eve that we might want to discuss just a little bit. That would be number 2 Michigan against number 3 Georgia in the Orange Bowl.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to watching that game. I mean, the team, they're so similar, you know, in philosophy. Kirby has successfully rebuilt Alabama 2010, right? And I mean, he did. Seriously, he did. You know, he's got a mediocre, just good enough offense and a stellar defense. And now he gets to play Michigan, who likes to play Big Ten football. So hopefully it is a very physical game. They hope they wear each other out for 4 quarters, 60 solid minutes. You know, that's what I want. And they can win somebody's going to win 9-6. You know, so
just exactly
in overtime.
Yeah, 18 overtimes. Come on, you know.
I'm gonna pause the bowl tape run. I believe our guest has to bid us a good evening. Rusty, it was an absolute gas having you on.
Well, thank you. It was good being on. Like I said, I've been listening to you guys. I've been pulling for Alabama. Like, I watch Alabama and cheer for them, right? And I watch the Bearcats and cheer for them, never knowing that the streams would cross. So now it's an awkward position to be in. You know,
you have to come back after the game when we do the recap, right?
I'm happy to. Like, I feel like I've kind of read up on this a lot, watched a lot of film and stuff, and I'm just really excited for it. Yeah, we could totally, close that loop afterward and see, kind of deconstruct what happened.
Very well, Rusty.
Cool.
May the Bearcats' death be swift and painless.
Absolutely, and can't wait to see it. Thanks for having me. We will talk later.
All righty, take care, my friend.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right. So unfortunately, Russ won't be able to join us for buy and sell stocks. And to answer your question, TJ, Russ is actually here in Central Florida. He is in the Central Florida area. He and I are close friends, which makes this all the more fun and exciting. So let's get back to bowl action.
All right, so we were talking about the Orange Bowl with the Fighting Bowl Cuts versus the Fighting Khakis. I agree, Bo, that this is going to be a good matchup, and I'm looking forward to watching it. These teams are almost like mirror images of each other.
Big John, you're going to hate me, but I have a headline. This is breaking news. Eli Ricks is transferring to Alabama. I just got that in off Twitter.
What?
Eli Ricks is transferring to Alabama. That just popped up there. So please let us continue.
Oh, okay. Quarterback from LSU. We're going to
Yeah.
have to teach him how to play football.
Yep.
In English this time.
Round down the zone of football and roll down the field.
Get the ball, don't get ready to get the ball. Yeah, go Tigers. I will say, and you know what? Russ would have appreciated this, being a upper Midwestern guy. I would love to hear a conversation between Ed Orgeron and Myron Cope. I would have paid cash money for that. Yeah, and I presume you guys know who Myron Cope is. He was a color commentator for the Steelers network for years and years and years.
Yes.
And he was this little cartoon man with this big cartoon voice. And it was a pleasure listening to that man talk about football. Yeah, he used to love to talk about the Cleveland Brownies and the Cincinnati Bungles a lot. But I digress. Okay, let's get back to this guy, and he's not going to be this Rick's kid's not going to be immediately available, is he?
No,
Because I heard we have.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I doubt it. So we're talking about Michigan and Georgia. Who do you have on this one?
Man, that's tough. I don't know. I haven't watched enough Michigan to know. I mean, I think Georgia's favored by what, like 6 or something?
That'd be
8?
about right, I'd say.
Something like that. I think that's about right. I mean, I think Georgia pulls it out. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if Michigan won, though, because I'd like to play Michigan.
But is the over under 7 in this?
And we've already, yeah, Georgia's favored by 6, and the over under is 12.
That's about right.
Yeah, we've played Georgia already, and we've already beat them. So let's play Michigan, right?
Yeah, I like to beat the man in khaki. It's enjoyable, and then hear him whine about cheating later on.
Yeah,
spend the night out of a sleeping bag in somebody's front room.
I have no hopes for Georgia, or I'm sorry, for Michigan. Boy, my speech impediments. For Michigan winning that game, but I sure would like to see Georgia get deep dicked one more time, because watching their hope be taken away, watching their dreams die on a football field, watching Georgia vanish like margarine in front of a blowtorch pleases me. It pleases me.
Yeah. I saw a tweet, the tweet that said that Bama's worst team in 10 years just beat Georgia's best team in 40 years. That's the gap.
I saw that one, yeah. So
Yes.
I'd like to direct everyone's attention to Jessica's last comment.
What did Jessica say? Jessica said Georgia pulls it out. Kirby's favorite position is missionary.
Oh.
He can't come from behind.
And I thought I was doing bad things with Penix jokes.
Yes, okay.
That is, yes, Jessica wins tonight.
Yeah.
Just
She
go
did-
on
she-
the
That's
internet.
She
a
did it
winner.
via remote control, guys. She beat us. She beat us without even being on the show.
I salute you. Okay. Next. Well, no. Give me some final scores on Michigan and Georgia before we move on.
Oh, Michigan.
No, I think that's like a 16-13 game. I mean,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I mean, Michigan's out of the big. They don't know how to not score low games. You get basketball scores out of those people. They don't understand what defense is.
Georgia 23-13.
No, I'm thinking Georgia still wins, but I think they gotta bring the entire Flying Bulldogs Air Force in to do it, and I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm going to say 38-24 Georgia, and
That's a lot
Michigan's going to cry because it's going to be an all-time low-scoring game for a team out of the Midwest.
Okay. And Bo, have you?
Yeah, no, I'm like some ridiculously low scoring game, like 16-13 or something.
All right. I'm thinking 23-13.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along. We have number 5 Notre Dame. That's still a travesty. In the Fiesta Bowl against number 9 Oklahoma State.
Yes, and so on January 1st, we're all Cowboys, right?
Yeah, fighting mullets.
Mullets, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think Oklahoma State takes that. Just to be quite honest with you, and I'm gonna go score wise. I'm gonna go 35-17, something like that.
Okay.
Are you writing this down?
I'm not.
Okay.
No.
I was like,
He's going to use this against us.
It's like
This is
keeping
like,
score. He's like, okay,
we should
well,
be Mirandized here. You know, you should have told us in advance
No.
that anything we say can and will be used against us on the next broadcast.
You give me too much credit. No, all I want to say is Oklahoma State by 14, and my wife lets me be a Cowboy every Friday night.
Oh wow!
Don't
Oh
tell her I
wow! Oh wow! They are a plain state, and what did I just say about the folks from out there in the land of corn and wheat and oil fields? So I'm thinking Mullet High is going to. They're just basically going to erase Notre Dame. Notre Dame is dispirited. They're leaking what little talent they had. They're sitting not just a little bit on the outside, not like, hey, if this team wins, but and this other team loses, we're into the playoffs. I mean, they haven't been this not qualified for a playoff game since the 2013 national championship. Oh, come on. That was a sick burn, guys. You're not going to give me a high five on that? All right. So I am saying 38-14 Cowboys.
Okay. I just have a problem seeing that offense score that many points. They have a quarterback that's a better running back than he is a quarterback.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
But Notre Dame struggled against Cincy.
No, this is true.
I mean, sorry, Russ, if you're listening and that raises your blood pressure a little bit. Notre Dame's just not that good of a team.
All right. The next one we have is number 6 Ohio State against number 11 Utah in the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. And I would like to note here that the first team to beat Ohio State, Utah, has blown out twice. So I have a feeling that Utah may be able to run on Ohio State.
Yeah,
Just a
don't
sneaky
care.
feeling.
Don't care. Whatever.
Okay. Okay.
No, I mean, okay. So I would love for Utah to beat Ohio State. I have no idea how that's gonna. I feel like that Ohio State should be favored to win this game, but given everything that's happening at transfers and all that stuff, that Utah could sneak one.
I don't think there's any sneaking. I think Utah's got an advantage up front. Remember, Oregon beat Ohio State by running the ball against them and pounding it on them late. And Ohio State couldn't do anything about it. Made them change the way they played defense. Utah came up and did the exact same thing to Oregon twice. Whipped them up front on both sides of the ball 2 games in a row. Twice in 3 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
I just think that Utah's got too much up front for them, and I think they're going to be able to whip Ohio State and get them out of their game. And this is going to be 14 to 21 point game on Utah's side. I think they're going to take down another. They're going to reel in another big fish in the postseason. I think.
Well, if
cool.
they're
I'm all for
fish, if they're reeling in fish from Ohio, they're going to have to throw them back because those things are loaded up with mercury and lead.
That's right. And nobody likes walleye anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is going to be a slobber knocker, but ultimately, I mean, Ohio is just as, I would say by 4 minutes into the third quarter, Utah is going to be holding Ohio State's forearm and slapping him in the head with it, saying, "Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself!" And so I will give Ohio State a generous 13 points against a totalitarian beatdown from Utah to the tune of 28. And that 13 points. That's not close. Don't think, oh, well, that's only 15 points, Bill. That's not a close 28, okay? That's Ohio, like, scoring in the first quarter, because, it happens, and then 3 points in the second quarter, and then 3 points in the fourth quarter for pride.
I will say that I don't think that they're going to be slapping Ohio State with their own arm. I think they're going to be holding their head in the toilet and giving them a swirly.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were about to make another Penix joke.
He hasn't announced his transfer destination yet. Just wait until that happens before the next joke happens.
All right.
But yeah, I think Utah handles Ohio State. This is probably going to be one of those games where it's sort of close in the first half, but by the middle of the third quarter, it is going to be apparent that Utah is dominating them up front, both sides of the ball. All right, Sugar Bowl, Baylor, Big 12 champion versus Ole Miss.
So I think Ole Miss rolls in this one. Lane Kiffin ends up having the best year in Ole Miss history. I think they finish in the top 5 of the final polls.
Now, Ole Miss has won. Haven't they won a mythical national championship back in the '60s, early '60s?
Yeah, but I don't think they've ever won 11 games in a season.
Well, okay. So the most wins in the season for Ole Miss.
I think so.
I think
Jess will correct me.
What's that?
I said Jess will correct me if I'm wrong. So
Yes.
I will say Baylor has got one of those kind of defenses that can make an offense look bad. But I think that Ole Miss's defense is going to be good enough to keep Baylor in check, and they're going to have enough offense to pull it out. No Penix joke. Bill, what do you think?
God, I can't hate Lane Kiffin, even though it's Ole Miss. I think setting my personal feelings about the kid aside, obviously Ole Miss is going to go in there and steamroll Baylor. Fire up the microwave, get the popcorn ready. I'm saying Ole Miss 35, Baylor 10. I think, Joey Freshwater has absolutely nothing to lose in this game. It's his game to lose. So he's gonna bring every analytics notebook with. He's gonna look like me running a D&D game. He's gonna have every rule book spread out on a table over there, and he's gonna be throwing everything at Baylor.
If we could only get him to roll a D20, to choose plays that way.
Oh my God, would that not be great? Lane, you can call whatever plays you want, but they're on this table, and you have to roll a 20-sided die to pick them. And I could see him going with it, just for So yeah,
all right.
yeah.
I got a Ole Miss before we start talking about hit points.
We'll turn you into a nerd yet, John.
Dude, you're about 40 years too late.
Oh, that's right, math scholarship guy.
I didn't say math scholarship guy. They just wanted me to do math. All right. Next, in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which, by the way, they do make very good peach shakes, we've got number 10 Michigan State against number 12 Pitt.
Yes. Okay, so I, for whatever reason, like Michigan State. I don't think they're top 10. Okay, I think Pitt wins this game because Michigan State's secondary is abysmal. So, even though I want Michigan State to win, I don't think they do.
So, Michigan State has been hard to figure out. They beat Michigan and then got completely blown out of the water by Ohio State.
Yes.
I think Pitt in their passing game is going to take the day.
I don't, man, this is, it's like having to choose the Opel hatchback or the Pinto off the used car lot. Your old man takes you down and says,
or
the
the
budget's
Pacer.
$500, kid. You can buy your first car. And, they got an Opel hatchback and a Pinto or your picks. So
I always liked Pacers. I don't know what it was. I guess it's because they looked a little bit like a Jetsons car to me. Or is that the one that looked like a high-top tennis shoe? I can't remember.
No, that's the Jetsons car. It's a big bubble,
Okay,
wraparound bubble thing. And you're, you're gonna wind up. It's like I always thought it was like a Fresnel lens. Like if you drove around in the sun, eventually you'd catch fire in the thing. Yeah. So anyway, back to this mess of a bowl game. God.
Oh, they get worse.
Oh yeah. No, I'm looking at the list on ESPN. It's not, we're not.
I mean, we've been talking about the good ones so far.
It's we get the Jimmy Kimmel upstairs VCR repair school bowl or something like that.
I might watch that. So
Penn State Pitt.
You got okay, Pitt. I'm picking Pitt, and they had the Heisman Trophy contending quarterback that faked the slides and ran it for a touchdown. And
only time you will ever see that, because they immediately made it illegal. Which they should have just called it. They should have called him down where he started.
Because now
he has
a rule now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But hey, how many players could say they literally changed the game? So.
All right, we're gonna drop down here to number 13, Brigham Young, in the Independence Bowl against UAB.
Yeah, so BYU should roll the Blazers. I don't understand why I guess is that a conference tie-in? Is that why they got that?
I would say UAB's been a tougher team. UAB's been a tough out this year. They're a good team. They're better than their 8-4 record, I think.
Really? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, you'd think I'd know they're less than. My daughter is a sophomore at UAB. I should know more about the Blazers. Maybe I'll adopt them next year as my secondary team.
Well, then I'll spare the joke I was going to make comparing UAB to the last stripper in the club at 4:30 on a Sunday morning. And I'm going to say that BYU steamrolls UAB. It's not even close.
I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to go on record and say UAB got a better bowl than Auburn did. Okay, even though,
and this is true,
as is right and proper.
Even though Auburn has played their bowl in UAB
Independence
Stadium.
Bowl, where are they playing that? Are they playing that Louisiana now? The Independence Bowl?
I don't have a clue, man.
Here, let's see.
I mean,
This is professionalism.
I didn't realize there was going to be a test. I just
Independence Stadium, Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah, Shreveport. Okay.
Shreveport. Okay.
That was the one they used to play. Was that the one they used to play in Memphis years ago?
Yes, it was.
Or was it the Liberty Bowl?
That's the Liberty Bowl.
No, you're right. That is the Liberty Bowl.
This is literally the Liberty Bowl. That's the name of the stadium.
Yeah, Liberty Stadium, Tennessee.
Okay, I think maybe they played both games there for some reason.
Maybe they did. They could have.
All right, so now we're going to the Alamo Bowl. So we're moving out west.
That one's in Texas, right?
You know what? You would think. I'm guessing San Antonio, which would mean it was going to be in the Alamo Dome. That it's going to be number 14 Oregon against number 16 Oklahoma. This one might be a halfway decent game.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting. I might want to watch that.
But who's going to be Oklahoma's quarterback? Who's going to be Oklahoma's offensive coordinator? What are they going to do?
Does Oklahoma have any graduate assistants that can play quarterback? Because evidently that's a thing.
I don't know, but I mean, this is going to be the coachless bowl. It looks like.
Yeah.
Is this going to be that 12th man kind of thing where they're going to have to get somebody out of the stadium to do it?
Probably the coach.
That was hockey, right?
I don't know. There was so music trivia, and it's relevant to this. Back in 75 or 76, the Who were playing a concert out in Kansas, and
well, that's ironic.
Keith Moon, I know the Who in Kansas, but Keith Moon, their drummer, who was notorious for consuming heroic amounts of narcotics, he played most of the set. To his credit, he played most of the set and then collapsed because he had done like ketamine and scotch the night before. And Pete Townsend, rather than canceling the rest of the show, wanted somebody to play drums. So they literally auditioned people out of the audience to come up on stage and play drums. And a local kid got up there and did an admirable job. Like he said, Roger Daltrey like gave him a big snifter full of brandy and said, just drink this all in one go. Don't get fancy. Don't get stupid. Watch us for the changes. And he was, I remember reading about that. He said it was like the most brutal half hour of his life. It was like 4 or 5 songs set. And he was like, yeah, I'm a pretty good drummer and I kept up with a Who, but just barely. So I think that's what's going to happen in this game. Basically, they're just going to have to like go out before kickoff and say, can anybody out here coach? Can anyone coach?
Speaking of Keith Moon, Eagles guitarist Joe Walsh once said one of the worst things that ever happened to him is Keith Moon decided he liked him.
Oh, God. Yeah, I can believe it.
Because Joe Walsh spent many years in rehab after that.
Oof.
Anyway, so we've moved out of college football and into some arena rock here.
Absolutely.
This bowl season. What else are we going to talk about?
Yeah, so and this is the coachless bowl. Both Oregon and Oklahoma have had coaches leave.
Let's go out there and do it, guys. Come on. How expensive can a bus ticket? Honestly,
I don't know. You know what? I know I formation 2 wide receiver sets, and
there you go.
Plays out of that. I
Wishbone.
can't really call anything out of the spread.
I know how to run the wishbone option. I can tell it's, Did you guys practice the wishbone? Well,
Here's how you do it.
We went wishbone to I formation offense. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Moving right along.
Yeah, I think I think in high school we had like 5 different ways to run the option. I think, and that's just high school.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right. I think Oklahoma's pulling this out, but this is going to be a tough game. It's going to end up being sloppy. I don't know what offense or defense they're going to be running in this. Who knows?
I think it's an appropriate place to end the season. Not obviously, it's not the last game of the season. It's a good bookend, though, because when you think about that game where that fake high school snuck its way onto ESPN, and it was just this ridiculous mess of a game. I think this is going to be that. I think it's going to be a perfect end to college football.
So maybe we just need to rename it from the Alamo Bowl to the Shit Show Bowl. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to get Texans mad at us.
So what? They're more mad at their own coach than anything else. So let them worry about that.
Right.
All of them.
All of them. All of their coaches.
Yeah. In the Citrus Bowl, we've got number 15 Iowa against Kentucky, comes in at number 22. So 10-3 Iowa, 9-3 Kentucky. Tell me what you think.
I'm going with Kentucky, and I'll tell you why. Iowa's, I don't know. I think Iowa's been kind of exposed. Everybody was all on board about Iowa this year. And I kind of think they were punching way above their weight. I think they were wearing elevator shoes and carrying lead weights in their pockets to get into some of those fights that they did. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think I don't think Iowa's that good. I'm sorry, Iowa fans, if you're out there. I don't think Iowa's that good. I think Iowa goes in and they get knocked on their asses.
Decent defense, terrible offense.
Yeah.
All right, Bo?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kentucky on this.
I'm going to take Kentucky by a touchdown on this one.
Yeah.
That close. I was going to say Kentucky by 10. I think Kentucky controls it well enough that
I think it's Kentucky by 9.
Oh, you're just being a contrarian. You're just trying to split us.
Like that guy on the Price is Right. $1. $2.
All right. So we have the ACC runner-up, number 17, Wake Forest, against number 25, Texas A&M, in the Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
Which A&M is playing?
I don't know. Do they have a quarterback? I mean, their quarterback just transferred.
Not A&M.
Yeah, I don't know. See, this is what makes picking bowl games so hard, because you got players sitting out, players transferring, coaches leaving. I honestly, stop all that crap until after the season's over, right?
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. So I have no idea. I have no idea. I feel like Texas A&M should win this game, even if they just pull somebody off the cheerleading squad to play quarterback. But
they should, but they won't.
I know this. Yeah, exactly. They should, but they won't.
Yeah, Wake Forest has played solid football all season, solid, consistent football, and I just think Jimbo Fisher spent everything he had saved up to beat Alabama.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
and needed a busted kickoff coverage for a touchdown to do it. You know.
So I say I'm thinking Wake Forest by 17. Yes,
okay.
I absolutely think it's going to be that bad. Not because I think Texas's defense is that bad, because their offense isn't that good.
No, it's not. I mean, they could run the ball a little bit. They don't have they don't have anything at quarterback anymore. I mean, that's the thing. So this is going to be one of those. They're going to tank this game. I don't think any of them care. I think they just think their season's done. I don't think they're going to want to show up, and I think they're done. So yeah, I'll take a week on this one too. All right, and next we've got number 18 NC State in the Holiday Bowl against 8-4 UCLA. In the Holiday Bowl.
How's NC State looking? What's their record?
8-3 or 9-3. They almost made the ACC championship game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go NC State just because the sissy blue uniforms. I mean, you got to pick something, right?
All I required from UCLA was for them to kick LSU right in the dick for that comment, and they did. So yeah, NC State.
All right, I am also picking NC State. All right, and in the Cheez-It Bowl, we've got number 19 Clemson at 9-3 against Iowa State at 7-5.
I hate to say it, Clemson.
Realistically, we know Clemson's going to win, but I hope they don't.
Yeah. Clemson's they played that heartbreaker of a game against Georgia, had a hard time running their offense, and didn't score more than 19 points until late in the season. But then all of a sudden they started actually playing well. They're actually peaking now, but they've lost their offensive and defensive coordinator. But I think they've got enough in the tank here to take Iowa State.
Yeah, they handily beat Iowa State. I'm going to say, I'm thinking 14, possibly as much as 21.
And what do we say, Bo?
Yeah, Clemson by 14. Yeah.
I hate to say it, I'm taking Clemson in 28.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. It's going to be one of those games where they just kind of pound them late, and they boat race them in the second half. All right. Number 20, Houston in the Birmingham Bowl at 11-2 against Auburn at a mighty 6-6.
It would not surprise me in the least that Houston not only wins, but wins handily.
Yeah, Auburn's not broke; they're broken.
Auburn's in a bad spot, and I think Brian Harsin has just lost the team. After the heartbreak loss in the Iron Bowl, I just don't think it'll be like when Alabama played Utah. It's like, why are we playing this game?
Yeah, this is absolutely the kiss your sister bowl for them, and I feel like
if you guys want to go, they're giving away free tickets with a 6-pack of Coke purchase at the Piggly Wiggly. I may or may not be kidding.
I'll pay the clerk to not give me that coupon. Yeah, no, I don't see Auburn. Look, there's playing for pride. Clemson's going to play for pride, okay? Clemson is looking at the ashes of, a dynasty that started. Like, you look at the rocket footage, you see a rocket that'll go up and it's like, oh, it's going. And then the guidance system just goes bonkers, or one of the engines shuts down or something like that. And it's like 20 feet above the pad and it turns into a fireball. That's basically what Clemson did. Beautiful launch from 2015 to 2019, 2018, and then just exploded, not in a good way. So Clemson is going to be out there playing, for pride to say, hey, no, we're still in it. Auburn, no way. No way. No.
You think they've had too many people hit the transfer portal?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen somebody go wide on the portal like this since Penix.
Oh. Ooh, okay. Okay. I thought I was the one that was the only one allowed to make Phoenix jokes, but okay.
Sorry, I just had to slide that one in.
Oh! I feel like
this is why we're never going to get on CNN, guys.
I thought it was like a talent, but okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. The Outback Bowl, number 21 Arkansas at 8-4 is taking on Penn.
Arky. I'm done.
Files before the game this time.
Yeah, I'm picking Arky in that game. Let me qualify this before I say it. Back, when I say Arkansas is back, I mean in the sense that they are playing like a gosh darn SEC West team should, not playing like a punching bag.
Yeah, exactly.
They are a competitive team, and
they are once again a competitive team.
Yeah, they're physical.
They're a fun team to watch, and my wife's uncle Donnie is he's an Alabama fan, but he has sent at least 2 kids to Arkansas, and he is a patron of the Razorbacks, and he watches them closely, and he's been happy with them, and I'm happy for him to be happy for them.
As well he should be. Arkansas destroys the Nittany Lions, 19 points.
19, okay.
19. It's an odd number, but it's going to be that kind of game.
Yeah, I have no idea about score, but I do believe Arkansas wins. Give me 10 points, I guess.
All right. Let's see. Okay, moving down here to the New Orleans Bowl, number 23 Louisiana, 12-1 against Marshall at 7-5, and Louisiana is he going to be coach? Do they have their coach for this game, or is he already off to Florida?
No, I think he's taking them to the game.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Louisiana. Yes.
This game will be a laugher.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, they're
that's this weekend, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is this weekend, or maybe it's Monday. I don't know. Wednesday, 18th.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, that is. This is. I'm sorry. No offense to any of the kids and coaches and whatnot, but this is a game for parents and student sections. It just is. Marshall versus Louisiana. Louisiana wins this going away.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, this game's not even going to be close. Next, we have the Frisco Bowl, which I'd never heard of, but this is going to be a good matchup. Number 24, San Diego State against UTSA.
Yeah, that's actually one of the bowls that I'm like, I want to watch that one.
Yeah, that I was. If you told me about that at the beginning of the season, I would have said 2 things: who cares and San Diego. But honestly, I think the Roadrunners have got this.
And by the way, that game is next Tuesday.
Oh, cool. All right. I'm off next week. My wife's going to hate me because I'm watching random bowl games just because it's football. So.
I'm off. I'm off for 3 weeks. So yeah, this will be an orgy of football. I'm looking forward to it. Perhaps, okay, never mind. No more Penix jokes. I already said. All right. And now that was the top 25. Those are the top 25 bowl matchups. Now, there are still a few more because the SEC had 13 of 14 teams qualify.
Yes.
And be invited to bowl. So now in the Gasparilla Bowl, we have Florida at 6-6 against UCF at 8-4. This gives Gus one more chance to beat up on an SEC team, but it's not going to happen. I don't know. No, it's hard to say because this Florida team,
This Florida team is just
they're done.
No, they're done. Yeah, just Central Florida. I mean, Gus wins this one. He may not win it by 28 or anything like that, but I don't think Florida shows up.
Yeah, if Florida shows up, they should win. But UCF is going to have. They've been thinking about this. They wanted this game.
Yeah,
and they will definitely show up.
Yeah. UCF by 13.
All right, I can buy that. Next in the Armed Forces Bowl, we have Missouri at 6-6 against Army at 8-4, who lost a heartbreaker to Navy last week.
Army, they're hungry for revenge.
And they run something that Missouri can't stop.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep. Give me Army.
That's going to be one of those something about a tin horn. I can't remember whatever it is.
Yeah,
kind of games.
Exactly.
Army's going to show up with Abrams tanks, and Mizzou's going to have sticks. So.
Yeah. What you guys think about the Army Navy game uniforms?
I like Navies. I didn't like Armies.
I thought Armies were cool in look, it's like an actual uniform with the name tags and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought Navies looked much better, but I thought they looked like Air Force uniforms instead of Navy.
From a distance, if you just looked at them quickly, they kind of look like New England Patriots uniforms.
That's true.
I took a quick glance. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich and glanced up. Steve was like, "Why are they showing New England? Oh, wait, that's Navy." But yeah, that's going to be a tough game for Missouri. They're going to have to learn how to defend a whole new offense, and Army's, well, they execute that every week. That gives them the advantage. All right.
Yeah.
Next, in the famous Duke's Mayo Bowl, we've got South Carolina and North Carolina. Both teams are 6-6. A little aside about that, my wife used to work for a staffing agency, and they staffed the factory that made Duke's Mayo in Malden, South Carolina.
So Duke's Mayo's has always been like second choice mayo. Like, you got to buy Bama mayo, right?
Okay, I have to stop you right there. I started buying Duke's Mayo in South Carolina, and it took me about 2 jars of that stuff to get used to it. And after that, I went back. Once we moved back here, I bought some Bama Mayo, and that stuff. No, that stuff is junk. They are owned by the same company. CF Sour.
I know.
But
they're
Duke's is far superior. I have to say it.
So when I grew up, Mom always bought Hellman's, and Duke's is very close to Hellman's. And then my wife always used Bama, so that's what we use now is Bama, because this is how marriage works.
Okay, so you like Duke's, or you like Hellman's, and your wife like Bama, so you compromised and started using Bama. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Trust me. We both actually, Duke's is just far superior. That is now the de facto. If I can't find Duke's, I wait until I go back later to get something else. Enough about mayonnaise. What about the football game? South Carolina versus North Carolina.
I don't know. I didn't become a mayonnaise fan until late in life. Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about that. Geez. Flip a coin. I mean, I guess South Carolina,
So I actually kind of like Shane Beamer, so I'm going to go with South Carolina.
Yeah. North Carolina was supposed to be good this year. They've been a big disappointment. My problem is, what quarterback is going to play for South Carolina? I mean, true. That's been there. They haven't had a quarterback. They keep having to go to like walk-ons and graduate assistants and all these quirky little side stories.
Well, they'll have one next year for sure, right?
They have a mediocrity at quarterback next year. It sounds like.
Well, no, they're getting what's his name from Oklahoma, right? Spencer Rattler.
Mediocrity.
better than what they have now, right? Comparatively, they're upgrading from nothing to something.
He could probably throw much longer interceptions than those other guys. Yeah.
So when that news came across, I'm like, why is he going to South Carolina? And I'd forgotten that Beamer was on staff there at Oklahoma.
Yeah, actually, this should be an upgrade for them, and yeah, he actually should play better than he did this past year.
Yeah.
So, what do we think about the game, though? I mean, are we going
to? We don't know anything about the game. That's why we're talking about everything except the game. So,
screw it. It's going to end in a tie. Next,
there you go.
Bowl.
Right.
Tennessee against Purdue University.
And
that was for my friend Tom. I have a friend Tom who's a Purdue graduate. He always called it undue perversity. He told me that he could never run for office ever because he took place in a grand Purdue tradition called the Nude Olympics one year.
Oh goodness!
And somebody snapped a picture of him just as he was sliding on the ice.
So that's in Nashville. So that's essentially a home game for Tennessee. But Purdue, I mean, they were the spoiler makers a couple of times this year, right?
They really were.
So you can't pull for Tennessee. Look, Purdue.
I can't pull for Tennessee, but I saw them improve dramatically over the course of the season, and I think they're going to pull this one out. They're believing in themselves a little bit, and they've started playing together.
Well, we're just going to have to change the way they think about that.
We can't do that until next year.
I know, but we're there. We're looming. We're the big thing on their radar. Here be dragons is what their map says when it points towards Tuscaloosa. With that said, no, I think Tennessee's got some spunk. I think I'm picking Tennessee on this one. I'm all about I'm all about rooting for the SEC. So yeah, I'm going with Tennessee on this one.
All right, and our last game, our last choice for our last pick for this season, the Texas Bowl, LSU at 6-6 against Kansas State at 7-5.
Oh, don't put me in a position to have to eat my words because I won't root for LSU.
Who is Kansas State's coach?
Holy cow, I don't remember.
Exactly.
Are they okay? Is Ed being allowed to coach the bowl game?
I don't think he is.
I mean, it's a hard read on this because what are you playing for? I mean, I guess to look good for the NFL Combine. So let me just interject a little bit of historical studies and sociology. It's a rare occurrence, but there's a happening in geopolitics called a broken back war, and that is where both sides of a war, their homelands have been destroyed. They can't get any resupply in the field. And yet they continue fighting because they're fighting the enemy. And that's just their last standing orders. It happens infrequently in some of the nadirs of the Roman Empire. I almost feel like LSU going into this is fighting a broken back war. What's there? I mean, I guess for your own sense of personal pride, to maybe look good for the NFL Combine, but if the NFL comes sniffing around, I mean, first of all, are they going to come sniffing around? Or are they just going to look at LSU and say, that's a clown college, we're not going down there? So, honestly, I can't really say with 100% surety that LSU wins this game. So, sorry for the kind of meandering and quasi-serious, convoluted answer, but that's just how I feel on it.
Okay, so Kleeman is their head coach. I could not remember his name.
Okay.
And by the way, he was coach at North Dakota State.
Yeah.
In their run of national championships. So he's not like he can't coach.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I agree with Bill. I don't know I don't know what LSU has to play for. It feels like a K-State win to me, but it's hard to read. I don't know.
This one's a hard read. Kansas State lost they're losing their offensive coordinator. LSU's losing. I don't know what LSU's losing or who's there, who's left to coach this game. But they came on strong towards the end of the season, and they went back and beat Texas A&M last game of the season. So it's not like they've completely quit. But I have many friends in Kansas, and several who were Kansas State Wildcat fans. For you guys,
it's
Kansas State by 7.
Is Kelly gonna coach the bowl game for LSU?
I doubt it.
I mean, is that how that works? I mean, he's appearing in recruiting videos, dancing with his recruits. Did you guys see that? Oh my gosh, it was horrible.
Yeah, he's recruiting. He's not.
Yeah, that. Oh my God, there's so much crass stuff. I mean, like ugly stuff that I could say, but I won't about that. That's just weird.
Yeah.
He is. You could tell he's not he's out of his element doing that, and you can tell it because he's doing things. He's like that girl who all of a sudden lost 30 pounds and is trying to be popular and trying to hang out with the in crowd, but doesn't know how to do it. And she goes and starts dancing and has like one sip of a mimosa and is like going around talking about how drunk she is and dancing awkwardly. That's what he's doing. And it's in both cases it's really hard to watch.
Yeah. So there's one other bowl that I'm going to be watching. Well, that's the First Responder Bowl, Air Force in Louisville.
Air Force in Louisville.
Air Force finished 9-3. They didn't go to the Mountain West Conference game because of tiebreaker, and but they in Louisville 6-6. So it's the Air Force they run triple option just like all the other military academies. So it'll be fun to watch. I like to watch the service academies play. That's just me.
All right. Well, we have a little bit of time left. Should we just run through the top 10 and do a big quick buy sell?
Yeah, we wanted to catch Rusty, but he had a work related thing to tend to. So yeah, let's just run down it, and no jokes, no pauses, no discussions of sociology. Just hit us and we'll go.
Okay, number 1, Alabama. Buy or sell?
Buy.
Number 2, Michigan.
Hold.
Number 3, Georgia.
Hold.
Oh, you guys aren't sure about. Okay, number 4, Cincinnati.
Buy.
Okay. You think Cincinnati should be higher?
No.
Okay. Number 5, Ohio State.
Sell.
All right. Number 6, Ole Miss.
Buy.
Number 7, Notre Dame.
Sell.
All right. That's fair enough. But I couldn't put them. I couldn't drop them anymore. Number 8 is Baylor.
Hold.
Sell.
Number 9, Oklahoma State.
Hold.
Sell.
All right. Just remember, Baylor beat Oklahoma State by about 6 inches, literally. And number 10 is Michigan State.
Sell.
Yeah, sell.
Who's number 10?
I don't know. Not Michigan State.
Okay. That's it. I'm done. That's all I got.
All right, guys. Well, I think that brings us up to almost the end of 2 hours. This is probably one of the longest shows we've done thus far. But for those of you who've hung out and listened to us and commented, thank you very much. Thank you again to Rusty Schafer for stopping by and giving us some real great talking matter on the show tonight. And Jessica, of course, everybody who was in the audience, thank you all very much for being here this evening. So next week, of course, Christmas. Now, we have moved to Wednesday nights. That is our time slot now. I don't foresee us streaming next Wednesday unless the crew really, really wants to do it, but we will update you guys accordingly.
I think our next scheduled broadcast is actually like the 5th, right?
Yes, that is our next scheduled broadcast. So we have a lot of ground in front of us. We have a lot of terrain to travel over as fans cheering on our Crimson Tide. But let us not forget the reason for the season. So I wish you, our listeners, my wonderful co-hosts, Bo, John, and of course Jessica, all the merriest of Christmases and the happiest of New Year's. And we'll see you guys again right after the big ball drops. So y'all have a good one.